Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. So yesterday neighbor Doug was over here giving us a hand bucking up all these firewood poles with the new Husqvarna chainsaws. And I'll tell you what, one guy in an excavator and one guy on a saw, that's got to be the most efficient way to buck up firewood poles. But what I want to do today is get the Eastonmade 37D over here and start working on splitting this stuff up. So this should give you an idea of how easy it is to unfold and fold the Eastonmade 37D into transport mode, but you can see it is definitely easier with two people. Folding it up is very easy by yourself, but getting it to unfold, you almost need a second person to kind of pull the end of that conveyor out while somebody's running the lever to lower the conveyor down. And you can do it by yourself, but you can see you need something to wedge it, to hold it open while you're at the same time letting the lever down. And you can see I finally get it here, but then I do have my chain that is taut there in the middle, so I've got to lift it back up, release the tension on the chain, give it a little bit more slack so that it can unfold, and then we should be good to go.
And then as I'm lowering the conveyor down, I'm just continually spot checking to make sure that the chain is staying on the sprocket on the end of the conveyor.
And then there's a compression latch on either side that holds that pivot joint together. All right guys, so we're all set up here. We've got our pile of rounds on the log lift side of the Eastonmade 37D. We've got our dump trailer set up on the end of the conveyor, and we've got the LS MT 357 still hooked up to the dump trailer. So as we fill the dump trailer, you know, if we get a nice big pile right there in the front, we can just pick up the front and slide it down, fill up the middle of the dump trailer, slide it down again, and then fill up the back of the dump trailer. So let's go ahead and fire up this splitter and see how well she does. We are running the 6-way wedge again today. I'm still pretty torn on whether I want to run the 6-way most of the time or the box wedge. The box wedge is going to be a lot less work. There's going to be very little resplitting required, but you do get a lot of extra scrap and bark and little slivers and kindling mixed in with the firewood. It's not the end of the world, but using the 6-way wedge definitely keeps more of the firewood as firewood and less scrap. So we're going to start off with the 6-way wedge. I may change my mind and pop the box wedge in there. We'll just have to see how the day goes.
So I mentioned before that this machine is most efficient whenever you send the logs through just one time through the 6-way wedge, but even I can't help myself in pulling back some of those larger splits and resplitting them while I see them. Obviously I'm not doing it on every single one, but every once in a while one will catch the corner of my eye and I'm like, that's pretty big, I could just grab that real quick and resplit it. But most of this larger stuff I'm going to save to resplit with the Eastonmade Axis, which that is the perfect machine for resplitting big chunks of firewood with.
All right, so the dump trailer is about 2/3 of the way full, and we're about ready to need to move it again to fill up the last third of the dump trailer. But when I went to go pick it up the first time to move it with just the first third filled, the front end loader was just barely able to get the tongue up off the ground there. And I mean, the tractor will lift about 2,700 pounds, but I mean, you've got a set of 48-inch forks and you're trying to lift it up at the very tip of the fork, actually a little bit past, because you can see where that is is another, I don't know, 6 inches out past the tips of the fork. So we're trying to pick up an extraordinary amount of weight way out from the pivot pins on the tractor. So I think the solution is going to be, I'm going to go try to put the ballast box on the back of the tractor on the 3-point, and I've got a hitch receiver on there that we can go ahead and put that 2 5/16 ball on, and that should get the fulcrum point or the pivot point much closer to the tractor. And I think the 3-point lift capacity on the back of this tractor is well over 3,000 pounds. So I think we got a much better shot of moving the trailer with the 3-point of the tractor than the loader. Now that is something I could not do with my old 35 horse tractor. Pick up the dump trailer with wood in it, or gravel or dirt or anything. I could move it around with my old tractor completely empty, but I've never been able to move it with the tractor before with anything inside of it. So anyway, I think we've kind of done everything we could with the 6-way wedge here. I want to try throwing the box wedge in while I still have some of these bigger rounds. That's kind of where the box wedge shines. The 6-way wedge is really perfect for some of these smaller, you know, 8 to 10 inch rounds right there. It makes real nice firewood, but these big ones, I think the box wedge is the right tool for the job. That being said though, it does, if you're looking to make boiler wood or something like that and you've got some bigger rounds, make some really nice sized hunks for you know, some heating wood. Or again, in our situation where we have the Eastonmade Axis, it breaks all of those big rounds down to a more manageable size. These are a lot easier to handle. Throw these on the Eastonmade Axis and resplit the whole trailer load. And that way, you know, doing it that way creates a lot less scrap. We've already proved that point in the past in another video. All right, we've got the box wedge put back on. Let's go ahead and split up the rest of these rounds or fill up the rest of the dump trailer, whichever comes first. All right, so the dump trailer's full, and this video kind of turned into a splitter wedge comparison. I didn't mean for it to happen that way. I just wanted to come out here and split some wood. But we got the 6-way stuff over here and the box wedge stuff over here, and you can see the size difference when you're dealing with 18, 20, 22 inch rounds. You get some pretty big hunks off of the 6-way wedge, but if you run everything through the box wedge, you get nice, perfect firewood for campfires and, you know, people that are cooking with wood. Obviously perfect is subjective, because some people this is perfect and to some people this is perfect. And you know, we've touched on it before, you do get a little bit more slash and stuff mixed in with the wood because it's mostly splitting, but you do get some tearing of the wood where it's literally just cutting the wood apart instead of splitting it when the wood gets in a bind, you know, kind of like this. But yeah, that's kind of what you could expect if you're considering looking at a 6-way wedge versus a box wedge. Me personally, this is the first time I've actually run them side by side, back to back, to really compare what it feels like as the operator. Knowing that I've got to come through and split all this stuff again with the Eastonmade axis, I probably 9 times out of 10 I'm picking the box wedge. That's just the way I feel about it after running them side by side, back to back.